Blog Talk Radio.
Start opening your eyes. Start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys. You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs. I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pink Atheist. I'm your host, Rachel Johnson, and with me today is my co-host, Jimmy Williamson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. We have a pretty exciting show scheduled for today. We've got a lot of interesting guests that are calling in. We're going to be talking about religion in the political arena. We're also going to talk a little bit about atheism plus, which is a conversation that's come up before in the past. And first, we're going to talk to Derek, part of the Secular Coalition of Alabama. Derek, do I have you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
All right,
Hi, Derek.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show.
Thanks for being on.
Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
First of all, I live in Alabama, so obviously I'm going to be at this event. So why don't you tell us a little bit right off the bat about the Alabama Free Thought Convention that's coming up?
Okay. If you go to visit AlabamaFreeThoughtConvention.com, it talks about all the speakers, has some little samples of their talks that they've given, just so you can see kind of what they're all about. Has a link on there to order tickets. I really strongly encourage everybody who plans on going to go ahead and order their tickets now, so we can kind of know how many people we're looking at. We're really hoping for 200. 200 would sell out the room that we have at the Embassy Suites in Montgomery on October 13th is when it is. We have Jamila Bey, who is a journalist and secular activist. She spoke at the Reason Rally. We're very excited to have her there. Also, David Niosi, president of the American Humanist Association, will be speaking. He has a new book out called Non-Believer Nation, The Rise of Secular Americans. Our own from Alabama, Blair Scott, with American Atheist, he'll be speaking. And we've just recently confirmed Brother Richard Haynes, who was a former minister and founder of Atheist Nexus. He'll be speaking as well. For our musical entertainment, we have the lovely and talented Shelley Siegel, who sang the song "Save" that you used for your intro.
Absolutely.
She'll be there to provide musical entertainment for us. We're really looking forward to meeting her and getting to hear her sing.
Yeah, she is a very, very talented girl, and would love to have her on the show one day. We have had Blair Scott, by the way. He was a few weeks back. And we like having you guys on. We like having some people that come on that are in the arena where they're making things happen. That's really nice.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting both Blair Scott and Brother Richard at the Southeast Regional Atheist Meet in Huntsville. Really enjoyed that, and I've been Facebook friends with a lot of these folks for a long time. And what we're really hoping for is really a chance to kind of network and to, meet a lot of the people that we've known on Facebook for a long time now and just haven't been able to put a name on the face. We want to get together with folks from Alabama and really make this about us, even though we've brought in some speakers from out of state. We really want to make this about us and getting to know each other, what we can do to be active in the state of Alabama here and trying to keep religion out of politics.
Yes. And that's actually something that we're going to talk about today. Obviously, we've already said that religion and politics is part of our topic. But for the meantime, Derek, what can you tell us about the Secular Coalition of Alabama? What's your capacity there, and what can you tell us about them?
The capacity for the event, you mean?
Oh, no, for your capacity in it.
Oh, really, this is our first big event. We're kind of we've been kind of laying groundwork for providing kind of an umbrella agency under which groups across the state could align themselves that would kind of keep an eye on things that were going on in politics in the state, like the forced ultrasound issue and stuff like that. And Chuck Miller, the executive director of the Secular Coalition for Alabama, he wanted to be able to speak to you here today, but had to. He was already scheduled to speak at a rally. He's the person who is really the driving force behind what the Secular Coalition does.
All right.
If I could,
go ahead.
I did want to ask, are you seeing a growth in the amount of atheists and agnostics that are in your state?
That's kind of a difficult question. I think that for the first time, and I'm kind of new to Alabama. I moved here about 3 years ago, and was shocked at how religionized this state is. I think that for the first time, with the advent of the internet and Facebook and YouTube, people who are secular Alabamians and secular Americans and just the non-religious in general are able to finally network with other people that think like them. So the numbers may not be growing yet. Statistically across the nation, we're the largest growing segment of the religious communities, the non-religious. But I think that for the first time we feel a little less alone because we're able to reach out to other like-minded people with much greater ease. I think I was in my 20s before I met the first open atheist that I ever met. And kids growing up now, that won't be the case for them.
Yeah, that's
right.
Very true. And so when is this convention going to be?
It is October 13th. We picked the day because neither Auburn or Alabama are having a home game that weekend.
Okay.
That is amazing that that's actually a weighing factor.
That is actually a factor. We figured it would cause a lot of problems with traffic and with conflicts of people not being able to come because they were going to the game and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm actually an Alabama fan, not one that goes to the games and gets it religiously, so to speak. But I am a fan, so there, I'll say that. But I'm not that crazy person that you meet that's just all about it. But I'm a fan. Anyway, Derek, let's move on. We're going to take one more call. Kim, who is part of Secular Women, and she's close enough that she may be part of this convention too. So we may bring you right back on. So hang on a second.
Okay.
Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
Great. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, Kim.
Great to be here.
All right, Secular Women. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Secular Women is a fairly new national organization that's focused on amplifying the voice, presence, and influence of non-religious women. So we started at the end of we launched or announced, mobilized, whatever you want to call it, at the end of June, and so we're just a couple of months into being. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. And already making a name out here.
We're trying, It's like any new organization. It's or any organization. It's just one day after the other. We had an incredibly positive launch where I can't say that that every response we got was positive. We did get one that we've put up on our website that's in an area that we call Thanks and Spanks about words that I can't say on the radio, words that won't pass my lips, actually, about what secular women are. But from the community, we have received an incredible amount of support and interest, and we are thankful for that every day.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So do you know how many members you already have, or?
We're not announcing specific numbers, but we do have over 200 members and, 2,600 plus Facebook likes and things like that. We have raised over $10,000 already.
Wonderful.
Wow.
And all those funds are to, really help women be a bigger voice and more present in secularism. So, like right now, we have a fundraiser going on, a fundraiser that's to send women to Skepticon. While Skepticon is free, getting there and staying there is not. And so we've raised some money so that we can help women go to conferences, and in particular this one. We're hoping for $2,500. Right now we have almost $800, and all of that money will go toward getting women to Skepticon.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
We actually had Phil Ferguson on last week, who was part of Skepticon. So yeah, we're going to push him a little bit on that too, and plug it every chance we get.
They actually had their. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
They're doing this really cool thing where individual people. They're putting individual people on their site, and you can help individual people go, and we're participating in that program. And they actually put up their first person today at $40, and they only needed $40 to go. And because of our process, we need the right person to say yes. We want to put the $40 toward them, and that's Brandy Brashler. She's in charge of that program. Brandy wasn't available this morning, but that person did get the $40 in funding. So that's really exciting to see that happen and see it so quickly. And we are hopeful that we can get in there next time and help send people.
That's wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see women getting so active in the community. I think that is a positive move forward.
Well, we obviously agree.
Now, and I did want to bring up, I know you guys have a calendar that you're going to be doing. Is that right?
We do. We have a calendar that I think we announced just about a week ago that we are doing as a fundraiser, where half the profits are going to go to Foundation Beyond Belief. It is a nude-ish calendar with a diverse group of people from, men, women, transgender, older, younger, people with some disabilities, breastfeeding moms. So it's really a calendar about diversity.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And, that's great that it's not just women, so, guys don't think, okay, this is just a calendar girl thing, but all sorts of people. I think that's amazing, and I really support that.
And that is really important to us, that it's to really show what the calendar is about. It's about diversity, and it's about atheists sort of shedding that fear and shedding some of the things, and that's why it's called the reveal, because it's people really revealing who they are. And my reveal for today, and this is the first time this is being announced, is that I actually am going to be in the calendar.
Oh, wonderful!
And I have the picture that I have in mind is I think kind of different and very me, which is that I don't know that I think that my entire body is something I want to expose, and I think that that's okay. And the pieces that I don't want to reveal, I am going to be standing with my bachelor's and graduate degrees.
Oh, that's wonderful! Wow, I think
so.
That's
I'm
great.
really excited about it.
yeah, I can see why. And I think it's very empowering.
Well, I was going to ask if you have a link up for that yet, the calendar.
What we have is we are on Indiegogo, and if you go to the secularwoman.org website, you'll see that up in the slideshow there is a press release about this. And then what we're doing right now is taking donations via Indiegogo, which in the first 48 hours we already had 30%. So we're very excited about that, but clearly need additional donations. So that's how you kind of, at this point, participate, or the one way you can donate. There's lots of ways you can donate in different amounts. One of the amounts is $30, and what you really get for your $30 is sort of this advanced purchase of the calendar. So if you wanted to buy it now and support the project and make sure that it happens and that it gets produced, that's where you would go to Indiegogo.
Indiegogo. Okay. We're going to post that on the Facebook page for you guys and maybe give you a little bit of promotion.
Great.
And we were just talking to Derek about the convention that's going to be in Montgomery. I understand that's not that far from you. Would you be making it to that?
Actually, I just looked it up on the internet, and it's about 3 hours from where I live. And then what I didn't realize was that it was really a one-day kind of workshop convention, which is much more interesting to me because I don't have to spend the night, and I can come home and still have one day on the weekend to myself. So that is something I'm looking to participate in right now, and anybody who sees me on Facebook knows that I just posted something about if you're driving over there, please let me know. And so it's just a matter of me kind of putting all the things in motion and maybe driving over, maybe finding someone to drive. But it does sound great, and it was good to hear Derek talk about it more because it sounds like a really interesting way to.
Hello?
I think that is hard to know. I think the question right now is more: are there more atheists out? Because we just don't know how many there have been quietly.
Yeah.
Right. Well, in this area, I will say I've seen an increase in people who are willing to come out and say that they're atheists. I'm like Derek. I'm not going to say the actual numbers any higher today than it was a year ago. However, I am seeing more people that are willing to come out and say it.
Yeah, and I'm in the South too. I'm in Atlanta. I did not grow up here though. I grew up. I guess I was young in New England, and then I grew up in California. And I moved here in '99, and have been stunned at every single moment of every single day almost about how public people are here with their religion. So that's been a big change for me, and I've been an atheist my whole life, and while religion has been a part of my family, I really grew up in an agnostic household. Or what the other one is a lot of my family are apatheists, just don't care at all. And so what happened to me was a couple of years ago, my Facebook page at Christmas time just blew up with God. And that I figured that if they could be that vocal, I could be that vocal in return.
Yeah, we can. We need to.
Absolutely. It's annoying when people try to bring their religion to you and you're not trying to force your atheism on them. I actually had some of that this week. So.
Well, I mean, and if you live in the South, it happens in ways you don't even really think about after a while. I wrote a blog post quite a while ago about religion just infecting your everyday life. when you go to Target and the cashier says to you, "Have a blessed day," when they're done with your transaction, really, I don't want to have a blessed day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty astounding, actually. I can't, I live in the North. I can't imagine somebody talking to me like that.
Yeah, you get that at Target. Like when you're leaving, it's just like, okay, and have a blessed day, ma'am.
Yeah.
I didn't
it
come
is
to
very
church.
open. Yeah, that's no exaggeration. It is that bad here. That is not an exaggeration at all.
And then when you tell people no thank you, it's like you are the pariah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and they act like you've offended them, and that's a lot of problem that we have with religion, is it gets them offended easily, but they don't, they're not worried about offending us. And I can't imagine living in that kind of situation, because I'm very openly atheist and very loud about my atheism. So for me, I couldn't stand being integrated into religion that much.
It's challenging.
I'm sure.
I will say this, Kim, you have not been in the South long enough to get the Southern draw. It's coming.
No, and I'm hopeful that never happens, actually.
Yeah, I definitely have it, but living here has just done that to me.
Well, living in Atlanta, I live in a big city, basically, and living in Atlanta does not give you the Southern drawl.
No. Okay.
So if I live maybe in Valdosta or somewhere else, or a little more rural, it might happen. But when I was moving here, there was 500 people a day were coming to Atlanta. So there's people from everywhere.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to take another call. We've got a couple more people to plug real quick, and then we're going to bring everybody back on the line to discuss today's topic. So hang tight with us, Kim.
Okay.
And we're going to bring you back in a few minutes. All right, let's move on. We've also got Jason on the line, who we had Mid-Ohio Atheist on last week, and Jason's part of that, so he wanted to come on this week. Jason, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Rachel.
How you doing?
Hi, Jason. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Why don't you give us a rundown of what you're affiliated with?
Actually, I'm a member of a few different groups around Ohio. First off, Mid-Ohio Atheist, which is a community for atheists in the Mansfield, Ohio area. We basically just a group that got together to promote, the common atheism, separation of church and state. We also contribute to a number of worthwhile causes, such as donating to Harmony House, which is a homeless shelter here in the Mansfield area, as well as the domestic violence shelter and Friends of Mansfield Parks. We also have several events. We have a monthly meeting that we hold at a Chinese buffet here in town. Usually on Sundays, but we've also worked in a few Saturday meetings as well. It's usually on the third week of the month. We also, on the first Saturday of the month, we have a Atheist at the Pub event where we get together at a local pub here in Mansfield and just, have a good time, nice casual atmosphere, good conversation. And we hold an annual picnic every summer. Another organization that I belong to is the Humanist Community of Central Ohio, which is based in Columbus and affiliated with the American Humanist Association and also American Atheists. Humanist Community has a number of events for pretty much everybody. We have socials, book club meetings, program meetings, service events, and Humanist Community also has an annual picnic in the summertime.
Oh, wow. That's
great.
And then, I also, third organization, really more of an informal, just to get together every Friday evening down in Columbus, the Atheists of Columbus. We all get together at Surly Girl Saloon, which is in the Short North District in Columbus, if you're familiar with that area. And that's more of an informal thing. We just get together and socialize and have a good time, have a few drinks.
Yeah, and I saw that today. I'm going to actually post links to your groups up there on Facebook. And I know that if I can here in the future, I'm going to make it out with you guys to a few events, and I would love to be part of that. You guys are a great bunch, and it's really fun hanging out with you.
We would love to have you down. We would love to have you down there, Rachel. You would love it.
Yeah. And trust me, here in the future, I'm going to be more active in getting to events. So, I hope to catch up with you guys here soon. So.
Outstanding.
Yeah, we really enjoy our outings here in Mobile. The group that I have here is amazing. We have just amazing people. And every Friday we do the same thing. We have a outing where we go to Buffalo Wild Wings and sit out on the porch and take over part of the porch and have drinks and just good conversation. And it's great. So it's nice to hear other groups doing that as well.
That and yes, it's great to get together like that, and I tell you what, I find it a lot more enjoyable than any church event I'd ever gone to, that's for sure.
Well, people don't tell you that you're going to hell when you go to an atheist event, so that makes it a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
So, was there any other groups that you're a part of, or is that it? I know that there's one called Eastern Ohio Freethinkers, and I definitely want to get in touch with them. So I don't know, are you a part of that one as well?
I'm not officially part of Eastern Ohio Freethinkers, but we do, as Mid-Ohio Atheists, we work closely together. A lot of times we have members from Eastern Ohio Freethinkers attend our meetings, and likewise we've gone down and attended some of their get-togethers as well.
Mhm. Yeah, and they seem like a pretty interesting group. I know that I've seen them flash through on the page and a little bit on your information, so I was wondering if you guys were tied in with them. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I follow them on Facebook so I can keep up with their events, and like to go down and join them sometime if I ever get the free time.
Sure.
Okay. Well, Jason, hang tight. We're going to take on our typical science that we do every Sunday, so we're going to have Ed on here in a second. But hang tight. We're going to bring you back on because when we talk our topics of the day, we're going to have the lines packed with people, so hang tight. All right. We should have Ed on the line. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Jimmy. Appreciate you having me on board.
Welcome
Hi,
to the
Ed.
show again, Ed. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel.
Give us our Sunday fix of curiosity of what's going on.
Okay, here we go. Let's start out with the weather report from Mars. This is data from September 21st. The high temperature was 37 degrees Fahrenheit, with a low of a chilly negative 101 degrees Fahrenheit. We're still looking at these wide temperature variations from high to low. And bear in mind, Curiosity is around the equator of Mars, so you're in the garden spot there. Atmospheric pressure is at 7.57 millibars. Again, extremely low as you compare that to the planet Earth. Winds are steady, still out of the east at about 4.5 miles per hour. It's been that way for the past few weeks that we've been reporting on this. This week, not that much really going on with Curiosity. It's been on the road, if you will. Up to this point, it's covered about 850 feet, 259 meters, thereabouts. That puts it about halfway to its actual first destination. Glenelg is a region they want to do some real science at. It's where 3 different mineral formations come together. They're real interested in that. This week, as far as what else was going on, as of about September 18th, Curiosity pulled to a stop to inspect a rock they found that the JPL people named Jake Matejevic after one of the late engineers that was on that project. That also will mark the first time Curiosity is going to be doing what they call contact science. For those of you folks on Twitter, if you're following Curiosity, there's a very nice photograph out there of Curiosity's in the assembly actually touching that rock and gathering the data for future download. Also on that, Curiosity's camera has been looking at the sun as far as imaging Phobos and Deimos as they transit across the face of the sun. Just a little note on that. Phobos actually rises in the east and sets in the west. You know, we know that here on Earth with the sun. Deimos, however, actually rises in the west and sets in the east. So a little contrast there about other alien worlds. Other things, this will be about the last bit right here. They have photographed different parts of the rover itself. They've photographed a American flag medallion and a plaque that's sitting on the deck of Discovery that has several signatures of U.S. officials. That would include President Obama and Vice President Biden. I imagine next week they will get back on the road and head toward Gleneag. That's it for this week. Back to you, Jimmy and Rachel.
Well, thank you so much, Ed.
All right. We have been talking about this Atheist Plus thing for a few weeks, Rachel, and I think today we're actually going to get into a conversation about it.
Yeah, it's about time.
And this whole thing started over, of course, not the actual event, but me checking into it started over a guy named Kevin who messaged me and asked me to check into it, and I've done a little bit of research on that in the past, so we've got him on the line, and we've also got a guy named Jacob on the line. So are you guys both there?
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? I'm here.
Kevin.
Hey,
Hi,
Rachel, hey.
Jacob, you're there as well?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful.
Hey, what's up, Jacob? How you doing?
Oh, not much.
All right. So, Jacob, I know that you're a little bit more informed about Atheism Plus. Why don't you give us the rundown of your information?
Well, I'll speak right off the bat. I'm concerned about Atheism Plus. I don't actually oppose any of the goals that Atheism Plus has. I think that they're all worthwhile ones. But I became concerned about it when I heard the story about how Thunderslit was censored off of Free Thought Blogs by P.Z. Myers, and I just see this as a dangerous and divisive thing to the movement.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I can see, I know that Greta Christina is linked along with it. I know that there's a few in the Free Thought blogs who are behind this. And the movement has come out in a lot of different lights. I've been looking up information this morning trying to get a stable view on it because I want to be as unbiased as I can to present the evidence. What we're seeing is, I know that Thunderfoot is looking at it as it's exclusionary, and that's what a lot of us have said. It had a very negative outcoming, and it sort of said, you know, you're either with us or against us. We're trying to get rid of the old white males who have dominated this and trying to make it more inclusive. But it seems like they had a little bit of a negative image coming right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's how I see things, and I think that's a mistaken thing. I think that we need to be inclusive. We need the old white males and the people of all walks of life.
Certainly, yes.
And now I know that since people have been saying that, they are trying to promote it more positively and say, no, that's not what we were looking for, that we're trying to create a group to, you know, kind of exclude this kind of behavior that we've been seeing on the internet. which takes us back to elevator gates and everything like that. And, personally, I feel like this. As a community, we have to handle things like adults. And I really feel that the whole elevator incident could have been handled more discreetly out of the public eye. And I realized that after that it blew up. I have a lot of, interaction with atheist males online. And I've met some in real life and had a good time. And I've never had this kind of rape culture thing. I've never had this kind of issue. And perhaps it's I have a limited exposure. I'm not sure. I just can't, get a grasp of so many men being, for raping and abusing women. And I think that this A+ is behind, that's what's behind the A+, and I'm worried that it's going to come out of some angry faction of atheism and cause a rift that's irreparable in our group.
Yeah. Well, personally, I moderate 2 separate groups of about 800 people on Facebook each, and I, as the chief moderator there, have yet to go over and see one incident where I thought that a person was being an attack of racism or sexism. Yeah, and that's quite a significant number of people to be dealing with on a daily basis. And I think that a lot of what happened there was it was overblown. People got too sensitive. The responses were oversensitized, and that happens when you're in an emotional state. But I think that we need to handle this logically, not emotionally. This is not an emotional event. This is very much dealing with rational public event, and we need to handle it as rational adults. And, I saw Thunderfoot's blog today on his view of it, and he made a very, very good case about why it's not a positive movement, why it won't work, and the problems with it. And I am going to post that. And then I saw the other side where they're saying this is a good movement because we're promoting more minorities, more women. But, I think that they really need to take this to task and organize and understand what they want from the community before it goes too far forward. Well, if you don't mind, I like to say what concerns me, a few things that concern me about how it's actually quite counterproductive. That is, look at our numbers. We're a really small portion of the population still. And Atheism Plus is exclusionary. We need moderate Christians to go over and enact good social change. And if you have these social issues tied directly to atheism, you're excluding all the moderate Christians. And we probably need 20 times our own ranks in moderate Christians to be aligned with us to achieve these goals.
Yeah. And now I understand, we were talking earlier, what was it that you were saying about the free thinkers?
Free thought blogs.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know I've seen a lot of their posts come through on my Twitter, and I've gone and looked at them. I didn't quite agree with how Greta Christina approached it, and she's a really wonderful atheist. She's a very bright woman. She's very well-spoken. I just don't agree with how it sounded when I read her blog, and a lot of people defended her, and I can appreciate that. I have nothing against her. I think she is wonderful, but I didn't approve of what the statement, the mission statement for the new group was. It did seem like a slap in the face to anyone who didn't join it. You must be for rape culture, and you must be, a person who thinks that way or isn't for women's rights. And I am, obviously for women's rights. That's my whole position. That's the whole reason that I have a blog and a podcast. So.
And I'd like to say another thing that concerns with this mission statement. I agree with every single mission item they have on that list, but there's the very real concept of mission creep out there. And if this movement has staying power, does anyone not think they're going to be able to avoid the temptation to expand that list? What if the list becomes that I've already seen people make arguments like this on my atheist pages that we should adopt a vegan diet or we should stop drinking, stop smoking. Really, it's almost endless how far we could take it.
Yeah, yeah.
And what's there to stop it?
true. And I mean, one of my first reactions when I saw that was, we're atheists. We're not supposed to have, atheism just means lack of belief in God or gods. Of course, we all have that in common. Beyond that, we're all a diverse group, and there's so much diversity. I think it is, as Aaron Ross said, it's like herding cats. You can't convince everybody to think your way. So if you make it so exclusionary and so tight-gripped, you're going to lose a lot of good people and potential quality there, because it's not that they, I don't know. I feel like if I don't align with everything that they're thinking, that I don't fit. And obviously I don't fit because I didn't agree with the whole drama online about Thunderfoot leaving Free Thought blogs and the way that they were fighting back and forth. It really turned me off from seeing any of that whole drama going on, because I feel like that's not the image we should be portraying, especially in the face of a Christian nation where we're trying to convince them that we have the knowledge and the intellect to have made the decision to be atheists. And then when we're having all this fighting and chaos and dissent in ranks, then basically we present that we're just another group that acts religious and fights and has a lot of intolerance.
It's like straight out of the episode a few years back in South Park where they had the world where Richard Dawkins converts all the people to atheism, and 300 years later the atheists have gone into three warring factions that go into a war of annihilation. And it seems like comedy now, but now it doesn't seem like such a laughing matter.
Yeah, and I've often looked back at that episode and thought, wow, what if that's reality for us? I know everybody tends to take some point of view, but we don't have to fight about it. We can respect each other. We can get along. All that our atheism means is we all agree that we don't believe in God. And beyond that, be free to be your own person. I'm very liberal about that. I just don't think that I want to be cornered into being something and told I have to be something when I don't feel like that's what I want for myself.
And like I was saying to you on the prep work anyway, the atheism is a thing that can't excommunicate anybody. We've always told about how Stalin was an atheist, and that's true. Stalin was an atheist, and we can't excommunicate from our movement. Our definition of the word atheism. Ayn Rand was certainly not a progressive, but still she's atheism. She was an atheist. So it's just an open word there. There's only one requirement to be an atheist, and that's not believing in a God.
Yeah. And see, promoting women, promoting minorities, promoting gay rights, equality, all of that, I'm for it. I'm so for it. But to tell me that I either have to belong to a group or be a bad person, that's the reason that I left religion, and that's the reason that I wouldn't join a group who had that kind of a statement. And I know that Kevin is on the line. Kevin, do you have anything to say?
Hey,
about connection.
Yeah, the whole movement, I like. I mean, I respect it in a sense, but the vision is just not something that I really was looking forward to in the atheist community. I always thought we were just bonded. We all agree that we don't believe in any supernatural deities, any gods or anything like that, and we kind of focus on the facts and evidence and just reality, and that's the thing that I really enjoy about being an atheist is being an actual human being. So I just never saw any kind of reason for us to divide like that and make all these different classes and everything. Kind of the religious officials, they have their their status and ranks and what and this is we're becoming a lot of people tell me now that it just seems we're opposite sides of the same coin, and it's now not only am I'm getting negative comments from the Christian community in my city and, family and friends. And now it's also I have an additional enemy, which, that shouldn't, I I don't think it should be like that at all. But what can you do, really?
Well, Phil was on last week, and he was talking about the more groups, the better. And that's true. That's very true. And having various groups which suit various needs is perfectly fine. But this elevator gate has become a rift in atheism because people tend to be. And it's pushing men away from feminism because they think feminism is this radical hate men agenda where we're just constantly trying to bash them and tell them, how they can't be men. And it's also causing a rift where it comes to, this rape culture. And, becoming an atheist, I would have never thought that we had to face these things. I never thought that there was such a thing as rape culture. And it does. I've been told this multiple times now that atheism is a religion, and it's getting harder to battle that when we start fighting like it. But it's sort of like Protestants and Catholics, I believe in God this way and you believe in him that way. Well, atheism is just about no gods, and we need to take it back and look at what we're doing, because if we don't get rational, we're going to tear the whole thing apart and have to start over. And we need more rational thinking and discussion here. And I think that needs to happen, and it needs to happen soon, and people need to stop being so sensitive because everybody's not out to attack you. They want to understand why you're behaving the way you do.
And if I could chime in something here, if you look at the Christian sites now, go to that Conservapedia site anyway, they're having a field day with this. They know about the rift we have, and they are laughing their ass off on it, basically.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure, because it sounds like we're just like them. There's no difference. We're just irrational, childish people who suddenly woke up one day and said, no, there's no God, and now we're just fighting amongst ourselves. It's absolutely absurd, and I would really love to see an end to this. And I think the people who can solve this is Free Thought Blogs by saying, look, we don't want to fight. We don't want to make more drama. What we want to do is explain our situation and the position we're in and take care of this. And they have that power. They have such a following. But, recently I've stopped following P.Z. Myers on Twitter because everything was it seems like they're so angry and so venomous about their message that I can't get anything positive. And I mean, I'm a scientist, and I look to a scientist as a rational person, and I'm not seeing a lot of rationality. And that for me is it's a turnoff. I don't want into the drama. I don't want to be part of it, and I'm not going to cause more. So, I could respect those people, but right now I think that the whole argument just doesn't deserve the respect and following of people when it's the reason for the rift existing.
Well, speaking of P.Z. Myers, back the old P.Z. Myers anyway, before all this happened, one of his big claims to fame was he was basically set up by Ben Stein for that movie Expelled anyway, about how you're familiar with Expelled, right?
No, I actually haven't.
It was a propaganda film made by the celebrity Ben Stein that made the argument that people who believe in creationism are expelled from the scientific community. Anyway,
mm-hmm.
he was set up it was a more neutral documentary and stuff. But then anyway, it was interviewed prominently throughout the movie, and Ben decided he wanted to go to the advanced screening alongside Richard Dawkins, and Richard Dawkins managed to slip into the theater unnoticed, but P.Z. Myers was caught by Ben Stein's security thing and literally expelled from the film. And everyone got a good laugh out of that, and when everyone said what a hypocrite Ben Stein was, but now who's doing the expelling? It's P.Z. Myers.
Yeah. And see, I watched that whole separation of Thunderfoot and P.Z. Myers and what happened there, and Thunderfoot made a very good case for his side. He explained, this is what happened, this is how it went, and this is what they're not telling you, and including private emails and messages and stuff like that were all out there, and it seems like they are behaving childish, and I think that we really need to clean that up. I mean, these are adults, and we look to them for rational thinking and education about the movement, about where we want to go, about science, about things in life generally. And if we can't look to them as rational people, then who do we look to? I'm not looking for a hero here. I'm just saying, these are the people who are leading our group. And if they're not leading it rationally, then, what do you do? I couldn't help but turn away because basically it was just too rancid for me. And I'm not the kind of person who wants to sit there and watch a site the whole day and learn nothing. For me, that's just wasted time. And I think that's what they're doing, is wasting people's times with irrational fighting. So.
The thing that's really bothering me is that there's a lot of people I respect that are signed up on Free Thought Blogs. There's some big names on that page and stuff, and I really would be ashamed if we went over and were to go over and have a permanent rift between one side of the community and some really excellent contributors they have on that site. PC's going to have to do in my eyes now, but I'd like to avoid starting a big rift with a lot of the other big names they have on that site.
Mhm. Yeah, and I know that Christina is up on that site too because, like I said, I follow her and I have a lot of respect for her. And it's hard for me to see this whole thing going on because, these are people that I looked to when I first came into atheism. And Greta Christina was one of the first friends that I had on the atheist sidelines. So for me, this is hard to see because I was, over assuming, but when I, friended her when I started following her, I assumed that she was a very rational person, not likely to get sucked into this. But and I'm not saying that she's, a causer of the drama. I'm saying that she's actually become, part of it, whether dragged in or not. And for me, that's a little bit depressing to see.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the list of the sites. I mean, we have a lot of, two podcasts that I really respect, Reasonable Doubts and the Atheist Experience, are on the Free Thought Blog site. Those two podcasts, I've listened to nearly every podcast they've made, and I really respect them. And it'd be horrible if we were to go over and have a rift between Matt Dillahunty and traditional atheism.
Yeah, and we can only hope that doesn't happen and that we have more rationale than that. And I really hope that this does calm down soon so that we can all get back to the business of thinking and debunking and working towards a positive future because we have bigger things to work on. I mean, you look at the Republicans, and we're going to talk about this soon, and their attacks on women and their religious beliefs as far as affecting their presidency, their candidacy. And there is definitely bigger issues we have to tackle right now, and we don't need to be attacking inside our own groups. We need to turn that outward because we can be an amazing force for good if we just get busy back to debunking and free thinking.
Well, I would say this, I think one of you've already said it. If the name had have been different, if they had have said, secularism is different than atheism. Secularism, you can actually be a Christian and be a secularist. You can just be for the separation of church and state. Now, if they had have picked a different name instead of dragging the name atheist through the mud with this, I would have at least stood behind it to say, okay, they're their own thing. My problem is that they used a platform to take what we stand for and add to it. That's what the plus is, to my understanding. And that I didn't agree with. However, I'm not well-versed enough in it to take a stance either for or against it. I can just say at this point that I don't totally agree with everything I've read, but to my understanding, they have not made an official statement.
Yeah, and I think that that's another thing is that it's not very well organized at this point, and we don't know who's really running it or what its future is. And I think that that's a lot of the uproar that we're seeing is because people don't know which way they should be looking in that whole arena. So.
Yeah, and until they make an official statement and say, as it's been said, it's either this or you're out, well, then I'll make a statement. But right now, to my understanding, it's just blogs, and it's just people talking. And that does not scare me in the least bit. So I would rather see an official statement and an official group with them, and at that point I'll evaluate it. Right now, we're all just talking about some free thought blog stuff. So.
And we do have a comment over on the board by someone called Miloyd. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, so I apologize if I'm not. They said, I've been to several atheist conventions, some by myself, was even at the convention where Elevator Gate started, but I've never felt threatened by any of the men I've met there. It never occurred to me that I wasn't safe. Of course, I'm not famous or in the public eye, so I wasn't a target for all those rabid atheist rapists. Very interesting comment. I don't think that we really have that serious of an issue. There can be some men out there that do, even though they are secular or atheists, do believe that, they can womanize and still be the same guy just without God. But I don't think that we have like this whole dramatic culture of rapists that are just like, hey, I'm godless and I can still, be horrible and do whatever I want to women. So I don't think that people are becoming godless just to, justify being a rapist. And I really don't believe that the rape culture exists. So.
That's my issue, and I have not read a blog where that was the case, where the elevator gate thing was supposedly mentioned. I know that that's something that if I'm not mistaken, I may be speaking out of turn here, but it may be in court right now, and if it is, it's being handled, and it's not something that I need to comment on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, we don't know all of the story and the issue. One of the problems I have with the whole thing is that we've never heard the other party speak, and I don't think that it's a fair deal when only one side gets to tell their story and the other one doesn't. And I don't think we should be quick to, judge anyone. And my understanding was Rebecca didn't want the whole drama. She just simply said, hey, guys, this isn't cool, and it blew up from there. And there was a lot more drama, and now everybody's become so sensitized to it that you can't have a rational discussion about the whole issue without someone getting irate and accusing you of being, a chauvinist, a rape culture supporter, things like that. So, anyhow.
I just added, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just added a quote from a atheist named Richard Carrier to your Facebook wall here, anyway, and this is basically quite a disturbing quote. It goes over and says here basically it's from an Atheist Plus member, and it says it goes there: are you with us or with them? Are you with the Atheist Plus movement, or do you at least cheer and approve of its aims and values? Which that part I don't object to, but then it goes over and has this big, are you going to stick with atheism less, and it's sexism and cruelty and irrationality. So basically, it sounds like you're either part of Atheism Plus or you're part of their Atheism Less.
Yeah, I see that. Wow.
Well, and again, I still will say this. That's coming from one person. I don't see that as being a stance for the entire movement, if there is a movement. I mean, that's the point. There is no official statement, to my knowledge, and if there is, someone please post it so I can see it. So at this point, it's just some people blogging and venting and saying their words. That's fine. They have the right to do that. Once they step across that line and actually make that statement, then I'll take a stance on it. But at the present moment, I'm not going to say that Atheism Plus is a bad thing until it's formed.
Yeah, and I don't think that we can really judge a movement till it is a movement. I just think the key players behind it, you know, they need to be the ones to speak up and say, this is why we're doing this. And anybody has the right in public arena to say what they want and however they want. That's freedom of speech for you. But we need the key players to speak up and get together and give us a mission statement, acknowledge who they are, acknowledge what they want, and then we'll go from there. Until then, you know, I have problems with some of the things going on around this whole issue, but yeah, really it is hard to judge something that doesn't rightly exist right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm a radical advocate for free speech, but free speech also includes the right to criticize somebody else's free speech, what they're saying anyway. Yeah, I don't know what this is going to evolve into, but I think I think going over and laying out our concerns early on is a healthy thing to do.
I do as well, and I think that it's good to talk about it because there's a lot of people out there with questions about it, just like Kevin had done. He had called into the show and he had asked us about what we thought on it, and we had never heard of it. And so that was our enlightenment, and we learned a little bit about it. But I think that people do need to speak out and understand where this is going, what they're wanting, what they're doing. And everyone has their own right to free speech. And I stand behind that. So. Yeah.
And I brought Jason back on the line because I believe he possibly had a comment to make on this. Jason, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Actually found, you guys said you didn't have a whole lot of resources. I actually found a website detailing Atheism Plus. It's just located at atheismplus.com, and there is a frequently asked questions section on that site that kind of explains things in a little more detail. So it looks like they are getting this a little more organized.
Okay.
Right. Well, that's good to know. And when they do, again, that's when I'll take my stance on it. And I'll read over the post you just gave me, and we'll look over it and see what we think. And thanks for doing that, by the way.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, we want to look that over, and then we might bring this up again on a future episode. Let our listeners know what we're thinking. I think this is going to be an ongoing topic for a while.
Yeah, and for today, I think we probably pretty much ran that one dry. Basically, as I've said, my stance on it is going to be once they make an official statement and once they come out and they are official, then I'll kind of judge it. But at the moment, it still seems to be just blogs, and the more the merrier. I kind of have to stand with Phil on that. The more groups we have, the better we are. So that point, I'm not going to say that I'm against them. Just yet, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
All right, so we're also going to get into the something we've tried to do for several weeks in a row now is the religion in the political arena. So, and it looks like we may have enough time to get this thing going today. So we're going to bring people back on and some new ones one at a time and discuss, the reasons that, they think politics and religion should be separated. So we actually have a caller calling in that we don't have a name besides, so we're going to check this person out first. Welcome to the Pink Atheist.
Thank you. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Well, hello.
I had a question about religion and politics. This coming month, supposedly 1,000 pastors are going to be endorsing candidates from their pulpits. And I really don't... I was wondering what the panelists on your show thought about my take on it. I just think that it's another way for them to clean up at the collection plate. Try to get people in like they normally do on Christmas and Easter, And because otherwise, I mean, this is just an invite for people with surveillance devices to go into the church and check out what's going on and seeing who's endorsing who, and then possibly bringing a lawsuit against that church, or at least making them lose their 501 charity status.
Right.
And I hope they do.
Yeah, and I can say that just from my experience in churches, pretty much everything you see them do is for a financial gain. That's just my experience. They don't seem to do things without that in mind. So I would agree with you.
Well, and I just want to step up and say this. First of all, that shows that religion is trying to push its political agenda forward. When you're speaking from the pulpit and you're using that influence that you have as a preacher, as a priest, as whatever you are, in the church to influence the voting of people who are otherwise independent individuals, that's inappropriate. And it is a violation of separation of church and state. Obviously, because you're talking about state issues, you're attempting to influence people's voting patterns and alter their thinking based upon your dogmatic ideas. And that creates, an environment where a person feels pressured to vote with their religion, with its doctrine, and that's completely out of line. So, yeah, I hope they do lose their charity status, because basically when we can let religion manipulate all of what happens in our society, you see what you have this year with them attacking women's rights and our choice about our bodies viciously. And I hope that every church has someone in there videotaping it and recording it and posting it on YouTube so that we can bust these churches who are doing this. They think that they're doing some service to their people, but they're doing a disservice. That's what public announcements are for from, the candidates. That's what all of this whole arena is for. Religion needs to stay out of our politics, just like our political people need to keep their religion to themselves, because it's making everything rancid, and it's influencing too much of our daily lives. And as a woman, it terrifies me, the idea that the state can tell me what to do with my body and what I can't do, and that it has the right to invade it, even if I say no, because it says that I gave prior consent to sex. Well, religion has gone way past its limits, and this is what I was saying earlier. The atheist movement really needs to move forward and get at this, because it's terrifying to think 1,000 people are going to be standing up there telling people what to vote, and these people are already like sheep. They're following this doctrine. How far will they follow it?
Well, I agree that religionists will do practically anything to gain power, money. I mean, we've seen it recently with Mitt Romney. He will alter his pigmentation for the Mexican vote. He's so bright orange, glow in the dark orange. Not just to possibly get a vote from a specific ethnic group, but I think that he might have been doing it too to feel comfortable going deer hunting with Dick Cheney and John Boehner. So, yeah.
Well, we're talking about the guy who was caught on video saying that he doesn't care about the other 47% of America. The people that he claims don't pay taxes, even though these are fighting men and women overseas, and these are very hardworking people and students and things like that, obviously they don't make enough. And so, if you're out there thinking to vote for Romney and you're part of that 47%, just remember he doesn't care about you. For you, you get a vote, but he wished you didn't. So.
For you and I mean, we agree here. I mean, it just seems so clear-cut that these pastors cannot say, vote for so-and-so. How is there anybody that's familiar with the law that can say, yeah, well, the IRS has no choice they have to pull their charity status. Is there anybody know anything about that?
Unfortunately, I'm not aware of the law. I do know that under the circumstance that if they tell you to vote for a certain individual, that is what can pull it, because basically if you're politicizing, you're obviously not doing what you're supposed to in a church. However, in the past it has happened, and some churches have got away with it. That's what I do know.
They get away with a lot.
Yeah, there are limits and laws in there that we don't know and we couldn't really speak on. Yes, they can say that. For instance, they could say, "Well, I believe that a person that would stand for this is wrong," and clearly be talking about a certain candidate, but that's not actually endorsing the other candidate. In other words, they can talk bad about one without saying, "Hey, vote for the other guy." And I think that's actually legal, to my understanding. That's actually something they can do. They can talk bad, but they can't talk good. They can't tell you to vote for one person or the other.
Well, and I think that even if you went as far as to say, well, here's what the church stands for. We don't believe in abortion. We don't believe in this, and women should be silent and be behind men and be in the kitchen cooking, which is all ridiculous and absurd. But the intent there is to say, follow the candidate who believes this. So it works both ways. You can pimp from the pulpit the candidate that you want, whereas you can tear the other one down. And that's basically what they are doing, is pimping from the pulpit.
Yeah.
And that plays into the conversation that we had planned to have today. Do you want to stay on the line and be brought back into this conversation? I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
Richard.
Richard.
I guess I could stay on the line if you'd like.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll probably bring you back in here in a few minutes. We're going to bring some people on and have a talk with everybody. We've got someone coming back who's been on our panel before. And Terry, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, Rachel, Jimmy.
Hi, Terry.
How are you
Welcome
doing
to
today?
the show.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do have some views on this, and namely that, the lines are beginning to blur between the church and state, and the Constitution as well. A lot of the religious groups, I think, are trying to make this a Christian nation. And it is not a Christian nation. It is a nation that's founded on the principle of freedom of religion and freedom from religion. And the caller that called in earlier, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name, but he just mentioned the fact that some of these preachers are endorsing certain presidents and yeah, I agree wholeheartely, 100%, that when they start doing that, when they start espousing, they're telling their congregation essentially who they should be voting for. They should lose their status as tax exempt, their tax exempt status. I forget what it's called. I know it's there's the code for the tax. Yes. Well, and in my opinion, the Republicans have been very diabolical, and this is just my own theory, but they've been diabolical in the sense that they have taken certain issues like abortion and homosexuality and marriage, and made that they're using that as a badge to wear to get this voting block, because the churches are so focused on the abortion issue and homosexuality. And because most of the religions in their teachings and their rhetoric are against it, the Republicans know they can capture that huge voting bloc as a result.
And I think that that's the reason that there's been a lot of leniency on churches doing that, is because they know that they can push a certain vote, and it's hard to, they know the loopholes, and they all have lawyers, and so it's hard to get a conviction, just like Wall Street, for a breach of conduct.
And and this is how I kind of see it. The corporations lobby with their money and their influence and their power, and they lobby our politicians. And religious leaders lobby with their ability to control their Christian voting bloc, a voting bloc. And so that's their leverage for politicians. And I'll go on to say make one other point. One of the actually there was more than one. There were 3 Republican contenders that were just frightening. And Michelle Bachmann, Rick Santorum, and Rick Perry. And and Santorum, being among the worst with his anti-science, anti-education, and his comments about a liberal, like a liberal arts education or progressive critical thinking. And this anti-science, look at Aikens with his comment on rape and what the body being able to expunge it, a woman's body, and just some of the most profoundly ridiculous things that are coming out of their mouth. It's just frightening.
Yeah, it's absolutely absurd, and I think that that's because, one, they're trying to promote this idea that women are guilty, women are horrible, and women are at fault for their own rapes. They caused the rape, and obviously, one of the things that Aiken said was, if it's legitimate rape, the body should shut itself down. Well, obviously he doesn't know anything about rape, about legitimate rape, but when a woman does say no, it means no, and your body can't identify rape sperm from regular sperm. It doesn't have that capacity. There's no check system in there, and he obviously missed a few biology classes along the way, possibly all of them, but it was frightening. And it's frightening to see powerful leaders be so uneducated and so horrible at decision-making and so indoctrinated by religious ideology. And, that is the topic today. This religion has seeped its way into every part of it. The DNC, when they accepted God, that was crossing. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to interject one thing that I have to applaud you and Jimmy for, and all the legions of people that are a part of your movement and a part of your premise of where you're coming from as an atheist, and that is really, at the end of the day, this is not a Christian nation. It is a nation that has freedom of religion and freedom from religion, and it's important for all of us to really have a voice, and especially people who are atheist and who have a different purview on their faith or what they believe. at the Republicans know that the issues of abortion and homosexuality are highly charged issues, and they are issues that are at the heart of religion. And the frightening thing about the prospects of a Romney-Ryan ticket is their overt and open stance on homosexuality and abortion, and what their plans would be if they're elected to office. That's just frightening, and I can just see more and more of our liberties being dictated and legislated by the religious right.
Well, and another thing is, that's the only thing that they have on their ticket. They don't have any financial understanding. They don't have any idea how that they're going to lower the deficit, especially when they want to give more tax cuts to the rich. So basically all that they have to stand on is we hate abortion and we hate gays.
Right.
And that's, ignorant and absurd. And if that's what you want leading your America, then you have to question what your thinking is. Because basically, when Bill Clinton took the stage at the DNC, he said it very clear-cut, very rationally. Here's where they don't stand. Here's what they don't know. They don't know about fiscal responsibility. They don't have any idea how to handle the budget. They don't know anything. They're saying, ask us after the election. But in the meantime, we hate everything to do with women, their rights, their own right to their body. But we believe in small government. Apparently small government is the size of a wand that penetrates a woman's vagina even against her will, which, by the way, is, also a form of rape. So state-sanctioned rape against women is fine because, they're also obviously very fine with women carrying rape children that they don't want and women being raped because it wasn't legitimate rape. The Republican Party has become a disaster full of hypocritic men that have no clue how to be in touch with the common man, and I think that we need to send a clear message to Washington to get rid of this kind of extreme ideology and get back to the politics of taking care of our country, taking care of our jobs, taking care of our poor, feeding the hungry, ending the homelessness, and getting our veterans back to work. The bill that was shot down this week that would have helped the veterans get jobs, well, it's okay to send them to war. It's okay to get them killed. It's okay to make them suffer, but you don't want to pay for them to have a job. And but we can pay, I think it's $83 billion for a war that we don't need.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right. And another problem, and Jimmy mentioned this too, that the church has turned into a big business proposition too. It has it's lost its way. The religion, it doesn't mean enlightenment. It doesn't mean spirituality. It's, in my opinion, most religions just preach their doctrine, and their doctrine's based on flawed information, in my opinion. And so they've lost their way. Churches are meant to do, the churches have to have at their foundation, at their core, one principle, and that is the principle of love and charity. And that's it. If you just put a period at the end of that, that is the principle of the teachings of Jesus Christ. And I don't want to say the Bible, because I don't believe the Bible is. I question a lot of the things in the Bible, but a lot of the teachings of Jesus Christ, and he made this very, very clear in his teachings, that all good works are null and void. And Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney could be two of the best guys at following the rules. You know, thou shalt not do this, that, and the other, and everything. But when it comes to actually, you know, embracing love and charity, anything and everything that they do is null and void. It means nothing. Yes, and so I just take the stance and the principle of spirituality and love for all men, not just the members of my congregation, mind you. And all this talk too that Romney is such a generous guy. He's so generous. Look how much money he donated to his church, and his church helps its members and its members only, and that seems to be what religion embraces today, is this precept that yes, we'll help others in need, our members, but those who are not members, well, they're one of the damned. You know, and it's just I don't know. I just have a very bad taste for religion in general anymore.
Yeah, and actually that's part of the whole main topic today, is that we wanted to talk about the politicians, what their religions are, and I'm sure that everybody in the whole world knows at this point that Romney is a Mormon. And a few things about Mormonism is not only the magic underwear, which is laughable, but Mormonism actually isn't that old. It started around 1839, and their creator, he actually embraced slavery. And then for a while he was against it, but he was ran out of some states for supporting the freedom of slaves, and then he once again went back to it. But it does have some racist beliefs. They believe that, black people are slaves and they will always be slaves. And they believe that, when they die, they're getting their own planet, and that God is on a specific planet. And, it's not just about multiple wives. It's all of these insane beliefs. And I've been told before, if you look at Romney, you can see his specific underwear, showing through his suits, like the shirt sleeves showing through. And it kind of is frustrating and scary at the same time to know that he's so dogmatic that he actually wears a specific type of underclothing to accommodate that belief. So,
that I didn't know that.
yeah. And I know that Obama was in a church that some atheists go to. Jimmy could tell you more about that.
Well, I know that it was a spinoff of a Unitarian university, and they do have atheists at that church. I'm not sure. I was kind of hoping Rhett would call in this week because he's a pastor at a UU church, and I was hoping that he could give a little more insight on it. But I do know that his parents his mother was a secularist, and his father was an atheist. So I would be surprised to find out that he is truly religious. I would believe that he's taken the stance he has on religion to get the votes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can tell by a lot of his behaviors that he's very secular. In his speech, I did hear him mention God twice. Once was as the creator, and the second time was, God bless America. But I don't see him as dogmatic as you can see Romney and the rest of his crew. They're absolutely insane. And Ryan is Catholic as well as the Vice President, Biden. So, we're well informed about the Catholic religion. I know that Biden hasn't been as obvious and hardcore stance as Ryan is, which is nice. I mean, the president and vice president seem to have a grip on where their religious stance is. I was opposed to them accepting God on the platform at the DNC. I think that was an appeal to the religious base, but it was an appeal that wasn't necessary because there's there are secular Americans, and it feels like we're forgotten. And I know that American Atheist has a petition out now that you can sign that says that, you know, they don't want God as part of the DNC platform, that's not what we stand for and that's not what we want.
And you know, talking about atheists and atheists being invited into churches, or, you know, or even being interested in going to a church, or being curious about God, you know, Jesus Christ and the way he taught, when he embraced people from all over, you know, I mean, when he said that, you know, to love your neighbor as yourself, he's not talking about your next door neighbor. I mean, he's talking about the global community of people in throughout the world, and that we are all our brother's keepers. And you know, so I think that Jesus Christ would sit down and have a better conversation with an atheist than he ever would a minister from a church, this church, that church, or the other church, because I just see Jesus Christ not the way that religion necessarily sees him. I see that him as a non-judgmental, as a man who had knowledge that was beyond what we have today. I think that he actually, now that they found, you know, we'll touch on the papyrus that was recently found and that referred to Mary as his wife. And while they're saying, they're not saying that conclusively that yes, that was the case. What they're saying is that there's the possibility that he actually was married and had a wife, which would throw a huge monkey wrench in almost every religion out there.
Actually, I was listening last night to them talk about this, and that piece of papyrus is actually 400 years after the supposed life of Jesus, and it actually mentions just his wife, and then it doesn't actually mention anything else. It cuts off there.
Right.
And to say, you know, by that time, 400 years after this effect, that would have been after the Council of Trent had composed the Bible. That would have been when Christianity was spreading throughout the whole Eastern world. So it doesn't confirm the figure that actually existed. And see, I'm one of those who, I know scholars have debated about this, but there's not a lot of evidence for him actually existing. Had that man been real and had he existed, he's one of the most progressive men we've seen. I know that a lot of scribes wrote things back in that day, and so I think that there was some scribe out there with some really progressive ideas who probably wouldn't have been much liked by his master had he have known he was writing that. But I think that really the Jesus figure that we know was just some secular person thinking about the reality of life and the breath of freedom that needed to be. And everybody talks about the progressiveness of Christianity. Well, that came about, you know, through secular society. And there are so many books that were excluded from the Bible and its creation. And I know that really we don't know if he existed. And there's no true evidence for him.
Yes, I've heard that too, and I agree with you, Rachel. I still have ingrained in me, you know, all these. I was raised, you know, in a church, in a Christian church, and read the Bible, and I believe that there is a lot of, you know, good things in there, and some bad. I mean, I think there's some things that can be very confusing and confuse people and confound people, and many contradictions as well. But what I take out of the Bible, the thing that I take most to heart is love and charity, and the principle of love and charity. And we can express that in our own way, in the best way possible. But I personally believe in that there is a higher power out there somewhere in the cosmos.
I know you do, Jerry. And go ahead.
I would say this, and I just want to bring this up. The issue of the humanity part that you're bringing up, that actually precedes the Bible. We were human before we wrote the Bible. So those rules, those laws, that humanitarian that you're talking about in the Bible, that's not new. That's not part of religion. That actually existed before and has absolutely nothing to do with religion at all.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just saying it was in there. It was in the Bible, and that's and the more I learn, the more I see that. I do. I agree. So that I am very, very highly skeptical of the Bible and religion.
Well, and if I can interject here, a couple things. Being the biologist in the bunch, I want to say this, and I've said this before in debates. Humans, as we evolved, we established societies, and it was beneficial to live together. So we had rules, and those existed before religion. In fact, many things were different before religion existed, including the treatment of women, their stance in the society, what happened, procreation, all of that. It wasn't the same. Religion was actually a negative effect on it because before religion, women were free to choose their mate, free to mate randomly, free to do as they chose. And religion actually put chains onto women and created slavery and justified it. And to me, I see it as religion has only been a negative impact. We were humans and lived together and coincided for millions of years, and it was religion that put a color on skin and created a race barrier, and it was religion who, created a sexual barrier and changed how we evolved. And
right, yeah, I agree 100%. And, the tragedy to the Native Americans who were here before the Pilgrims, when they came in, and my great-grandmother was American Indian, and she knew nothing of her culture because she was indoctrinated by the missionaries at a very young age, and taught to forbidden from speaking in her native tongue or having any kind of displays, of the Native Americans in her actions, and she was forced assimilation, basically. And yeah.
Go ahead. Well, one real quick. I do have Native American ancestors, and I do know that in the Cherokee Nation, women actually had the vote who was the chief, and women owned all of the property. So a divorce consisted of a woman setting the man's shoes outside of the teepee, and then he was done, he was gone. So before religion and places that didn't have this Abrahamic religion, you can see that women had their spaces in society, and they had their place, and they were regarded with respect. And it was the Abrahamic religions that actually, took everything into task. And marriage was a creation of ownership of your property, and women became property. So the Abrahamic religion it's absolutely toxic for our society, and it's a very sad
premise. I'm sorry. I was just going to add to that. I'm sorry about interrupting you. I would just say that you're right, and that's the premise that the Paul Ryan and the Mitt Romney are coming from. I mean, that women just, it's astounding, some of the things they've said. And it's a total disregard for women, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I take it totally from not that side, I guess. And let me just say this. You or anyone else can say whatever they want about how great the Bible speaks of morality and humanity, and I can counter that a million times with, you still would have to justify the 2,270,365 people who died in the Bible at the hands of God before we could ever start talking morality. The Bible was a torturous book, which spoke of, if you're not part of my tribe, you need to die, and that was it. That was the way that's the way they went. They went about killing and maiming and torturing and raping women. The entire I don't see how any women's rights could ever be religious. I know they are. There's some out there. But women were tortured in the Bible. That was horrible. Women had a horrible time in the Bible, and there's nothing in it that I could ever see as moral. After I've had the time to sit down and read it for myself with an open, objective mind and say, okay, I'm going to actually read what it says and not what the preacher tells me, I got a new identity on it. And it is nothing. There is no morality in that book at all. I mean, the Ten Commandments existed before the Ten Commandments were written. If those people did not know before they went to the Mount that they could not kill and rape everyone, then we wouldn't have made it that far.
Well, and I do want to point out, if you want to talk about the Bible, one of the stories that I'm actually named after the girl named Rachel in the Bible. It's an example of, if a woman is a good servant to her husband and a good slave and has the kids, Rachel is heralded as the mother of all of the Jews, because basically she took her father tricking this man that wanted to marry her and his 7 years of slavery and she never spoke out about it. And that's one of the examples in the Bible, that women were possessions. So he marries her sister. He works for another 7 years to get her. She doesn't complain about being the second wife, about all of this that's happened. And so she dies, and they bury her on a roadside. She doesn't even get a grave. And it says that she spoke from the grave. I'm not sure how anybody would know that. But she's heralded as being the good one because she never questioned her servitude. She never questioned her slavery. She took being barren and all of this with stride. And so that's the way that women were considered a good woman. And I refuse to be that kind of a good woman. I don't want to be just a servant to a man, just a slave to a master, just a uterus to produce offspring, and in the end, just a hole in the side of the road, and accept that as my fate. And if Christian women think that that's a story that heralds women and empowers them, then I would ask them to question what they really think empowerment is.
Right. I agree.
So
absolutely.
I've read a lot of the Bible, and I know that if you read it and you read the reality and you just stop looking for the message and you start reading the message, you can see that the message there is pretty brutal when it comes to women. And I don't think any woman should ever take that as a lesson for her life, that she should be subservient to a man, that she should feel like second rate.
Well, one thing that churches have done very successfully is really just this form of brainwashing the masses, as it were, and it's also, religion is most definitely, it's a tool of control, is what it is. It's a tool. It's a way of controlling the masses. It's not, and religion is not enlightenment. There's a big difference between enlightenment and religion, and spirituality and religion. and I consider myself a spiritual person. That's and that I do believe in. I do believe in that we in a consciousness, and that we have that we're in a period of darkness right now. When it comes and hopefully we'll move into a period of enlightenment again, but religion is a form of darkness. It's and it's a form of control.
It is. And I would like to say on the far of having a consciousness, as a scientist, we don't know what develops the conscious state, but I absolutely do not believe in a soul or any secondary conscious state. And I have no reason to, because there's no proof that there's any energy or any force that leaves your body. And until that's proven, I'm like Christopher Hitchens. I'm very much a materialist. If it doesn't exist, if I can't test it, touch it, see it, then to me it does not exist, and I have no reason to worry about it, think about it, focus on it, because it's absurd. I can't tell you everything that's in this world. I'm not that brilliant, but I can tell you that what I can see and what I can deal with, I'll admit that exists, but I don't believe in a soul.
Yeah, and I totally respect where you're coming from. I do, absolutely. And it's up to people who have a theory. And the way I see science and the way I look at science and how it should work, a lot of scientists take their theories. A theory is a form of faith, if you will. It's a form of.
It's not.
You don't think
a theory is totally not faith, though. Those are two different things.
Yeah, because a theory is based upon observation. So you have to observe.
Let me explain. Okay, before I know what a theory is. Now, a theory is just that. It's a theory. It's a thought. It's a belief in something. It's not proof. A theory is not proof. A theory is I believe this and I believe that. I believe that DNA is the God molecule. It's that there was a blah, blah, blah. You can name it all day long. That's my theory. Now, can I prove it conclusively with facts?
The difference, Terry, I think I'm sorry, but I think you have the terms confused, because a hypothesis is what you're referring to, which is when I say I think something should be this way without any proof.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe.
An actual theory.
I'll have to look that up. You may be right.
We were talking about electrical theory earlier, and let me explain something about it. In my extensive research in electrical theory, I can tell you don't want to doubt it, because when you do, it will kill you. Electrical theory will kill you. It's a proven fact. It's not something that you want to test. You can test the theory of gravity all you want. You can jump off a building and say, no, it's just a theory. I want to actually hit the ground. Wait a second. There's the ground. It's going to happen. It's a proven fact. Those are theories. Things that are not proven, things that are a scientist, yes, will say, I think this would happen if this was the situation, and that's called a hypothesis. And that's the beginning of it. So the term I think you have wrong. The slang version of theory is what you're referring to, and that theory is not what we normally use.
And if I can just interject here really quick.
Yeah. Please. I'm sorry.
That's fine. In biology, the first thing that they teach us is that in order to create a hypothesis, you have to make an observation from which you form a question. So if I want to make a theory about anything, I have to first make an observation. That is not built on faith. That is built upon, again, the physical. Because if I can't see it, if I can't test it, touch it, then it's not science. And so in order to get that hypothesis to test for a theory, then basically I have to be able to have something that I can question. And that could go back to gravity. If I pick up this pen, will it fall to the ground? Now, physics can tell you that, out of a million times, one time it may not fall to the ground. But basically, that's a physics principle. That does not belong to who I am. In order for us to test anything, it has to exist in reality. And we have to make an observation so we can make a hypothesis, test that, and get a theory. A theory is based upon a lot of evidence that has come together. And we can't just call something a theory without that evidence.
Oh, yeah. But I will, this verse from the Bible, and I won't quote it. I'm sure I'm not going to quote it perfectly, but faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. I think that's very profound. This is a very profound statement if you think about it.
And the definition of faith in the Bible is an appeal to ignorance. So.
Yeah. For me to take anything on faith in my life would be ignorant. I have to have something. I'm sorry. That's where I draw the line. Is whenever something is said, it's noble to think of something that doesn't really have any proof, doesn't have any bearing in real world atmospheres. Then that is what you're saying. That is religion, and that's something I'm not part of, and I won't be, because that's stepping over the lines to me. I need proof. And that's part of the atheist stance. You hear it a million times, and that's normally the argument from Christians. Whenever I debate a Christian, it's normally, well, that's just all you ask for. Yeah, it is. I'm sorry. I'm going to ask for proof, and until I get it, I'm going to stand on the side that has at least some fact.
Yeah. No, and I understand. I do understand that. And I actually, congratulate you for that, because that takes a lot of power. It takes a lot of courage to have that stance, because it's not necessarily an easy stance to take. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I guess I've never been atheist. I still believe in the esoteric. There's something out there. We just don't see it yet. That we're not enlightened yet. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm still searching. I'm still looking for that something. And I could be wrong. I mean, you know what? I could be wrong. I certainly.
Well, and that is the thing that separates atheists from others is we stand on that. I could be wrong with a scientific theory that I stand behind. I could be wrong with the theory of electricity. That could be proven wrong. However, I do start with fact.
Yeah, and actually that is I definitely have more appreciation for that than I do all these weird conjectures out there, that these different religions that embrace this ideology of we know, we have the facts, as my sister Bonnie. I shouldn't have said her name. That's not her real name. I love her.
Well, you didn't use the last name, so you should be fine.
Okay. Yes, and she's just convinced that she's right and that she knows the truth. And I respect her personal right to believe as she chooses to believe. But these people like my sister, think it is their God-given, that they are endowed by their Creator to change and make everybody else believe that their way, because they believe wholeheartedly that they know the truth that they know.
And if I could just interject here, I want to say this in the whole of the denial. There is a universe around us that makes us look like a speck of dust on the head of a pin in the whole of the world. That's how we look. We're basically non-existent from a few billion miles away. And to believe that there's a creator who was so intent upon us that he would create such a vast universe and water fountains in space that are actually flowing with water, gaseous masses. All of this for us is a very selfish, self-centered thought, because I don't believe that there's any creator who would make all of this chaos on one little planet in a humongous universe and say, you guys are the special ones. I just can't grasp how egocentric that is. And I'm not trying to insult you particularly. I'm just saying about religion that this is the focus, that, an illiterate man in the Middle East is who we want to send our message. And, you have all of this whole planet, but it's basically nothing in the face of the universe. And I just can't believe that there's any divine power out there who would want to create such a chaotic world where it's literally dog eat dog, and there's amazing species out there that actually kill each other. You take the fungus that grows inside of the brain of an ant, and the ant is basically a zombie, goes up on a leaf, the fungus grows out of it, kills the ant, and shoots the spores. What kind of a designer would design that? I mean, that's
I
just
agree.
A hideous creation. I don't think that there's anything supernatural. I think that we wish that there was, because our time on Earth is limited. We know that, and we don't want to have that, because it's very humbling to have the perception that you're going to die. And, facing that actually this week, it was very startling to me to know that there comes this reality, and you have to have a good grasp on it. We're not immortal. There's no immortality for us, and we have to live our life for the moment and for the love that we get and we give, and we have to be grateful for the fact that we were even born. And I'm very thankful to evolution that I got here. So I don't see any.
I agree.
Yeah, and I don't see any divine creation in that.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I do want to say this, and I think Rachel will agree with me. If there is going to be immortality, if there ever will be immortality, it will come from science.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
It won't come from a sky daddy who magically said, hey, I'm going to let you live forever. It's going to come from science.
Yeah. And here's what I couldn't agree more with you, Rachel and Jimmy. Here's what, the more we learn about the universe, as you said, we're a speck of dust out there. In the grand scheme of things, we most certainly are. You got that right. And the more we learn, if you go back and look at history and the history of science and the discoveries that were made and the church's influence too, the church essentially cutting people's heads off for saying that the earth revolves around the sun, and it was blasphemy. It was the more we learn about our existence on this planet, the smaller we get.
And the further we pull away from religion.
And also it is and I agree with you too that it's almost like this. Who are we thinking that we're so special that it's a sense of it's in a sense a bit of arrogance, and I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you on that, and that's not what I'm. And I sound like I'm contradicting myself.
Terry, I'm sorry, we're running out of time, and we need to wrap up. So,
but we will continue this. This started off good, and we will continue it.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
absolutely.
I digressed.
Well, thank you so much
deal.
for coming on the show, and I want to thank all of our other guests today. You guys have been wonderful, and it's been great to have you on, and we will see you all back here next week. And until then, I wish you all a godless and wonderful week, and take care.